Thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Mr. O'Rourke from Texas.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'd ask for unanimous consent to submit the statement from the National Treasury Employees Union and a statement by the Border Trade Alliance into the record.
Without objection.
And I'd also like to thank you, Madam Chair and Ranking Member Jackson Lee, for assembling this panel and holding this hearing on what a secure border looks like. And it's perhaps one of the most important questions for us in Congress and for our country to answer. The fate of 12 million people in the United States right now and the future of comprehensive immigration reform depend on the answer to this question. The fate of the community that I represent, El Paso, Texas, the safest city in the United States, but one which is heavily dependent on cross-border trade and the legitimate, secure flow of people and goods across our ports of entry. My city, the people who work in it, the people I represent, depends on our answer to this question. And I would argue the fate of our country. We have more than 6 million people whose jobs are directly dependent on the secure flow of trade that crosses our ports of entry. We trade more than $450 billion a year with the country of Mexico. And if we want to see economic growth in this country, the fate of our country depends on how we answer this question. Not to mention the billions of dollars that we spend right now to secure the border, as our chairwoman has pointed out, with not a lot of measurements attached to it to define whether or not we're doing a good job. So since we're unable to succinctly define what a secure border looks like today, although we're working on it, and I hope we have additional hearings, I was hoping that Chief Fisher and Commissioner McAleenan could answer this question. Considering El Paso is the safest city in the United States, San Diego, also on the U.S.-Mexico border, is the second safest. If you look at the border on whole, from Brownsville, including Laredo, all the way to San Diego, and you compare it to the rest of the U.S., we're safer than the country on whole. And I would argue that the rancher going to get his milk in Arizona is far safer than the single mom leaving her apartment in Washington, D.C., or Detroit, or New Orleans, or many of the cities in the country's interior today. So with that, the record deportations, the record low apprehensions, the record money spent, the doubling of the Border Patrol force, are we as safe and secure as we've ever been?
So I believe in many sections along the border, I can compare it to when I came in the Border Patrol in 1987. Certainly because of this committee's support and others, we have received unprecedented resources, both in terms of Border Patrol agents and technology. And there are more sections along this border that are secure because of that.
I would agree with our technology deployments, our operational improvements, how we're using our targeting systems, the ability with the Western Hemisphere Traveler Initiative to query almost every person crossing the land border. We're significantly more secure with inadmissibles, with our counter-narcotics mission, agriculture, pests, and diseases, and, of course, our efforts against terrorism.
Commissioner, could I ask you to reach the conclusion that I think you started, which is we are more secure in all those areas than we've ever been?
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's important for us to know, because I share this committee's frustration with the fact that we don't have a defined goal and measurements on which to chart our progress against that goal. We're no longer using operational control. We haven't released the new comprehensive index from DHS. So in the absence of that, with so much riding on our ability to speak intelligently about border security, I think it's really important for this panel and the country to know the border is as secure as it's ever been. Commissioner, an additional question for you. While El Paso is the safest city in the country, and I would argue if you want to know what a secure border looks like, look at El Paso, Texas, the world's largest binational community, safest city in the United States, next to what until recently was the deadliest city in the world, Ciudad Juarez, with 10,000 murders over the last 6 years. One of the things that's a threat to El Paso and our economy, and by extension the national economy, is the slow pace of cross-border traffic. We hear of shippers, and I'm sure Congressman O'Rourke can attest to this, who wait up to 9 hours to cross north into the United States. We hear from constituents who wait 3, 4, and even 5 hours in pedestrian or auto lines to cross these bridges. There are just some basic issues of being humane to the people who are crossing, and then we also are dependent on them for our economy. When I crossed this week, when I was back in El Paso, CBP agents knew I was coming back over. There was no wait time. When I talked to other members of my staff who regularly cross, they wait 3, 4, and 5 hours. If we can get me across in 10 minutes, why can't we get everyone across in 10 minutes?
As I mentioned in my oral statement, our wait times and our service levels to the traveling public and commercial trade are a huge focus for us. We made significant efforts in El Paso over the last year, increasing our booth time by 14%, with staffing remaining flat. That's resulted in reduced wait times, actually, in fiscal year 12 over 11. The traffic is up in every category: pedestrian, personal vehicles, commercial vehicles, 12% over the last 3 years. And we're using our new technology, our active lane management procedures, try to get people into the trusted lanes, try to get people into the RFID-enabled lanes to move them quicker. You've seen the technology in the pedestrian area at PDN. That's increased our capacity 25%. The wait times are down significantly. We're staffing the booths, the peak times more efficiently, and that's making a difference, but it's a continued focus for us. We're going to need to move that increasing trade and travel even more efficiently this year.